there's any claims floating around. A reminder that the 8/12 and 8/26 committee meetings have been canceled and replaced with an 8/19 committee meeting. Number 5 is a Zimmerly Ready Mix request for public retraction. This was a tabled item from the last board meeting, but I done my due diligence and talked to the state's attorney, and it's okay for me to clarify this stuff. So we're going to clarify this stuff very quickly. In your board package, you have a on Zimmerly Ready Mix letterhead. You have a request for some items to be stated, and they're going to be. Item number 1, it says Zimmerly Ready Mix has always been an IDOT approved source for concrete. I would assume that's probably true. I have no problem with that comment. Number 2, IDOT does not provide concrete mix designs for projects. That's also true. Number 3, Zimmerly Ready Mix is not required by IDOT to have a concrete mix design submitted as a prerequisite to be considered for a project. That's also true. Any questions on the Zimmerly Ready Mix clarification? Okay. Number 6 is high school road updating agreements. That's going very well. Yes, sir.
So what are you planning on doing?
With
Yeah.
my minutes, now the next thing that'll happen is what I just said will be in the minutes.
Okay.
And I think, I'm of the opinion that my minutes stating that I read this and that I agreed that it's true will suffice for their needs. I think Zach and Hunter, are looking for damage control. They don't want anything that comes out of this office to damage that business. And they thought that these 3 items ought to be clarified. They thought that maybe some of the things that were said and some of the documents that were circulated might have made one question whether these 3 things are true. And I'm saying they are, all 3 are true. So the minutes will be
Okay.
the means for them to decide whether or not I've met their needs. High school road updating agreements, it's going really well. The way it stands, I'm going to be quick, is that the city of Paris will have from the east right-of-way line of the railroad tracks all the way to Route 1 under their jurisdiction. The county in August is going to ask the board to approve a jurisdictional transfer of the road from that same point to west of the tracks. So the county will have jurisdiction. If you guys pass all of this, I'm just telling you where we're at. From Cherry Point Road all the way to the east side of the tracks will be county, and from that point east will be city, where we have staff members that are helping the city put together. They want to take jurisdiction of the intersection of the township portion that's in front of the work camp all the way out to Route 1, and we will help them do that. And they already have jurisdiction of the roadway in front of the high school. So we will become their neighbor in August if you guys pass the jurisdictional transfer. And if you pass the jurisdictional transfer, that will for the first time give us a place at the table to do things such as the railroad grant, ask for park money in August, stuff like that. That's, in my opinion, imperative to get this thing moving forward.
I understand did we lose the grant for the boring and all that?
Absolutely not. We never have a grant for boring.
What did we miss? Did we miss something for that crossing?
No, we haven't missed anything. We've done everything.
So has the state told us they're not gonna give us any money for that project?
They have not. There's a group of people trying, for whatever reason, to stir the pot or create controversy. And in regards to what Mike said, the county has been facilitating a grant for the city on the east side and for the township on the west side. And that takes a lot of work. I don't know if you guys have seen the grant applications, and I'd say we've probably got a couple hundred hours in this grant application to get these railroad funds. And again, the county's the only one that's done anything on that grant. The only one. And when the city got what I call cold feet in the minutes, when the city got cold feet, if you want to go with that term, 3-4 weeks ago, I don't remember when it was, but the city requested a meeting with me, and the city said, we don't know if we want to do the jurisdictional transfer or not. and things got real murky real fast, because with the grant, I had been telling the folks over at no one else, just me, on behalf of you guys, on behalf of the city, on behalf of the township, just me, I kept saying, we will have approaches there for you. The folks that want to buy the crossings, the actual crossing itself, the lights, the crossbucks, the circuitry, the people that had the money, has the ability to fund that upgrade, has been in constant dialogue with me, and I've been, I don't want to say falsely, I've been basically guaranteeing them that we'd have railroad approaches there for them to put this stuff on. And when it came time to find out if anyone was going to help participate in those crossings, the answer was no. And that caused some real disruption to the project moving forward. So the way it sits, this office applied for money, this office facilitated getting the money, this office has pursued making that happen, and as we came to the deadline, I think it was a week from the deadline for that application, our partners, they're not partners, the people that we're representing, facilitating for, didn't necessarily, they weren't willing to commit to funding any of it.
Well, who are those partners?
The city of Paris to the east and the Paris Township to the west.
And they didn't want to do it.
They didn't want to fund anything, they wanted us to do it, but that, they weren't willing to fund any of it.
I think it's gonna be done with the intersection, that route one.
I have no
There's
idea.
some concerns.
Yeah, I don't know.
People's been asking us, as far as I know, no.
Again, I've heard there's some movement, but I'm not in that loop, or in that group. I guess there's some movement for some funding for the guard, and you guys may have.
Caution light would help.
Yeah, the crossing's the only thing that we've, I don't wanna say secured, we got ourselves positioned pretty well to get money for the crossing. But again, this crossing, if you remember right, way back before I was ever involved, IDOT was working with the school and saying, look, there's some opportunities here for you guys to look into, and they had recommended, IDOT had, that the school apply for grade crossing funds for the circuitry and the gates, and to apply to the ICC for grade crossing protection funds for the approaches. And once the county was brought into the equation, we immediately went to work on pursuing those two opportunities, and the first of the two to respond was the ICC, and we were not selected for crossing approaches, but we stayed the course, and we stayed after IDOT, and we said, well, there's more than one way to skin a cat. How about if we put the approaches in, will you guys still give us the signals and the gates and all that stuff? And they said, yeah. I mean, this is kind of off the record. We're still not selected. It's all off the record. So, any other questions? The county's done everything it can. It's doing everything in its possible. In fact, we're going beyond by making statements like, we'll get the approaches in if you'll give us the grant. And once it got down to him selecting us to take the grant and us putting the approaches in, I went back to the folks that we were representing and said, are you guys going to participate monetarily? And the initial answer was no. And now, as of Friday, the answer is yes.
And the township's gonna turn that over to the city. Chucky's already agreed to that last portion.
Everything's dynamic, but the last discussion was Friday, and the city had indicated to Mr. Baylor, our representative, that they will take the township portion down by Route 1. Now, I can't speak for the city, that's just what I'm being told.
So where's the cutoff again?
The east right-of-way line, the railroad. If you want to make it simple, it's the railroad,
Railroad, okay.
but it's on the high school side.
All right, okay.
That's the cutoff line. And we, the city, the last proposal I had for Dave to take to the city was that the city's gonna participate in the approaches. Well, they're gonna try to, Paul's gonna go to his council and stuff, but, and the city's going to participate, in the drainage improvement. There's a significant cost and some drainage work that needs to be done there. And they're gonna petition the board for CATV dollars and come in at that angle. So the statutes state that any township or any municipality can petition the board for help on a drainage problem, and that's how we're gonna go about it. So that means the city is basically gonna ask the county board through me for help in addressing a drainage problem. So there's two agreements that I'm trying to get the city to agree to. And the Chuck's side's about 75 for the road and 25 for the bridge. And the city side, the numbers that we threw out was about 75 for the approaches and about 50 for the drainage. So that's where that's at. The JT on the township side is gonna be a little awkward. It's gonna be similar to how IDOT transferred the roads to us. I haven't worked on the agreement yet, it's gonna take me some time, but we're gonna try to get Paris Township to give us dollars towards the improvement as part of the jurisdictional transfer, because I don't think legalistically they can be spending money on a road that you have jurisdiction of next fall. So that's the route we're trying to go.
How does this affect any of the other jurisdictional transfers with the city? Or is that separate issue?
The city's still willing, and it's my understanding that the city's still willing to do the Prairie's Edge, the west for Cherry Point,
Mhm.
but the Clinton Road for high schools tabled, to say the least.
Right.
And that means the ITEP application's not gonna go forward because the ITEP had street lights and pedestrian lights and sidewalks and retaining walls and a lot of things that the county thinks are nice, but we've never really gotten into the business of taking care of street lights and stuff like that.
Okay.
So the ITEP grant application, which is due, I think it's in September, I can't remember, August or September, probably my minutes, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. We'll still do the improvement, it's gonna be a simple inlay instead of lots of pretties. But it looks like we'll end up having it, Carl, unless you guys.
Okay.
So are there any questions on that? That's fairly important that we, if we get the August meeting and you guys don't take jurisdiction of the high school road or Prairie's Edge, that will likely mean that we won't be able to apply for TARP funding. And if we don't apply for TARP funding, kind of like the Scotland Road up there, we like to get funding in place before we start a project. So it'll be my recommendation that we don't start that project until we secure some outside dollars. So I highly encourage you to come visit with me individually if you have any other questions, because I really think it's important that we apply for TARP dollars this cycle. To give you an example, the TARP dollars from last time are just now becoming available. So I mean, you're a year away from. So that's the high school road update and agreements. Number 7 is round 3 jurisdictional transfers. Carl just touched on that. There's a new angle to this. IDOT has just implemented the MAP 21, the new Federal Highway Administration, or the new federal laws regarding the federal funding mechanism is MAP 21. That new mechanism states that locals have to give DOT preferred truck access routes. So we will have to submit, whether it's 80,000 pound or capable or not, we have to give IDOT our preferred truck routes. And that's kind of it, that's new this year. So I guess my point in telling you that is, if someone was to tell you outside of talking to me that, you know, all this TARP stuff that you keep getting told is, I don't know if it's really necessary. I'm telling you that the trucks are gonna be there whether you have money to fix the road or not. Does that make sense? They want you to tell the trucks where to go, and if it's oiled earth, it's oiled earth. And our truck program, Josh has maps, we're building maps for that program. But all this mapping and all this TARP work that we've been doing is geared just for that. So Prairie's Edge, for example, it's a truck route. It's a preferred truck route. And Clinton Road, and even High School Road, and Redmond Road, et cetera. As we talk about Redmond Road and High School Road would be two of our candidates this year. I think we talked about that last time. So any question about the importance of the JTs, the importance of the TARP applications, and the fact that we're gonna now have a map on a website that every trucker can look at that shows them where they're supposed to be driving. Number 8, Cycle 11 ITEP. That's the one thing as of right now, we are not submitting Clinton Road. There's still a chance for folks to change their minds on that, because it's just a resubmittal. I mean, the whole application's done, the federal PDR is approved. But as of now, we will not submit an ITEP candidate of Clinton Road. And then our TARPs are due at 9/20, okay, so the TARP apps aren't due till September. Number 9 is the Lower T FedEx, the ongoing dispute with IDOT on the bottom part of the Lower T. That guardrail is supposed to be fabricated and in and up in the next 4 to 5 weeks. That's what we've been told, so we would love to get that project closed.
That's the dispute.
I know the dispute we talked about last time, the disputes on whose fault it is and all that stuff. Do you want to revisit it? Ben?
Nope.
Ike projects update, Metcalf's done, Brockton's done, Vermillion's done. We're getting our monies, Ben, and I think Carl and Alan are signing the intergovernmental agreement, the amendment to number 1 for Kansas. I can say that we ask for money and they say we're gonna get money, and then 12 months later we do, and that money's starting to come in. So it just started coming in last week, which is very pleasing. Kansas is an environmental. I'm gonna guess September, a September letting, but that's nothing more than a guess. So we're down to one out of 4 left. Number 11's our local projects. One Park Road's going really well. Stratton Bridge is getting close to finished. Preston Road, we may start this year. We're working on right-of-way out there. That's down by Carroll's and Pines. So I'd encourage you to drive down there if you never have. And then the County Highway 12 right-of-way update. Okay, County Highway 12's the project that's the big hill at the county line south of Kansas. And I want to make sure the board hears this. We are going to buy an acre of ground down there. We'll probably buy right-of-way on the whole east side, but we want to buy right-of-way very quickly for 1 acre laydown, and that right-of-way is in anticipation of giving the Ike project a place for spoil. I think we've talked about that before, but I want to make sure you don't catch something at the coffee shop or whatever. So we're wanting to buy an acre. It's the Limes property, and it's right down by the county line, and our hope is that we can encourage the contractor on the Ike project to take all of that spoil down there so that we can use it, possibly use it someday to possibly do an improvement.
So you take that water out of, is this out of the city of Kansas? Is that what that is? Just a
It's
refresher?
actually just outside the corporate limits.
And you're and then you push it 4 miles south? Is that
So
what
we're
you're
gonna dig
doing?
a big hole, Alan, and take all the dirt from that hole. We're gonna dig a big hole and put a void back, and all the dirt has to go somewhere.
Right,
And we're saying we're gonna take all that dirt south.
I got you.
Because
You're gonna
we-
build it on top, of you're not making the hole down there, you're building the mountain down there. Is that right?
We're gonna take a rolling roadway and widen it and take some of
You're taking the
the,
Where
dirt
were you
from
taking the
Kansas,
water?
taking it
Yeah,
down.
what I said, yeah, so you're draining, I thought you were using that like almost as a retention pond area.
the roadway itself, where the county highway comes into Kansas,
Yeah.
there's the corporate limits there. Inside the corporate limits, there's gonna be 2 great big equivalent round size 24-inch pipes that takes the water.
That's
But
what
just south of that, Alan, there's a big footprint or hole that will be dug, a great big hole. And what will go back in the hole is chambers and rock. So you're gonna take something that's full of dirt and you're gonna put something that's real porous in there, or open, and it will store water and meter it into the village's existing system.
Okay.
And the best way to frame that, I love using this metaphor, is if you bury one 55-gallon drum, that's 55 gallons more of water you'll store. That's, I love framing it that way. Every 50, I'm being sarcastic, of course, but this is a pretty big 55-gallon drum. This is a great big footprint to store water and to meter it into the existing tile. So is there any questions or concerns about us kind of being aggressive on anticipating that there may be improvement down there at the south end? The truth of the matter is, if all that dirt goes down there and it sits there till Jesus comes back, it's no big deal, it doesn't hurt anything. So, he's coming. Just don't know when. All right, number 12, slurry program, demo seal coat program. Slurry on the parking lot out here. Our guys, we had the group that sold us the slurry paper come last week and get our guys using it, and they've done our lot and the Horace Brockton Road and a piece on Sand Hill, down by Sand Hill, and we're also going to do more on the Horace Brockton Road. Basically about 3 more days of slurry. You heard it called slurry paving or microsurfacing. We're actually using a microsurface, which is a high-end slurry. But I feel it's highly successful. Of course, there's a lot to learn and tweak and figure out, but so your big rig's been out. It's never going to be as nice as resurfacing. Just understand that. People say that's not as nice as hot mix. Of course not.
Look, it looks nice.
Yeah. I was telling Ben and Jeff, hot mix an inch is 100,000 a mile, and oil and chip or slurry's more like 15 or 20. And that's doing it with your own folks, so it could be less than that if you didn't count the cost of labor and equipment, but we do.
What's the Hume IGA got?
And then Hume has approached Josh, or Duncan McGibbon at Francis, sent an email a week or 2 ago to Josh and said, hey, Hume wants to start doing some seal coating again and wants the county to do it. And we're like, well, they didn't sign the intergovernmental agreement 2 or 3 years ago when we made the big rounds to get everybody to sign on. They didn't want to, they chose not to for whatever reason. And now they do want us to seal, and we're gonna ask them to sign the intergovernmental agreement. So in August, you guys will probably see the IGA for Hume that allows us to share services. So
It's
Hume.
not the Hume grocery store.
Yeah. That's what I
These
said.
are
Say, it's been a while since I've been up there, but it'd be a nice improvement.
It's like parking lot at the high school.
TARP money, that's a vague term, right? TARP, isn't that something? Okay, moving on, Ben's gonna kick me, or he just did. Number 13. Okay, last meeting I told you that the Vermillion Road and the Shiloh Road hot mix asphalt resurfacings would not happen this year because of intersection improvements that require digging. We have abandoned, with IDOT's encouragement, if you will, we have abandoned intersection improvements on both of those projects, and now we're just going to resurface them with TARP dollars, and now they are back on the schedule for this year. So the Vermillion Road, I hope to make a recommendation for award to the resurface the Vermillion Road from the lower T to 500, and I hope to make a recommendation to award the Shiloh Road from 133 to the concrete section at your August meeting. The plans for Vermillion are on the street. The plans for Shiloh are supposed to hit the street by Wednesday. Cherry Point Road, we were hoping to do Cherry Point Road with the high school road next season, if things work out right. Any comment on that?
And you're gonna, what are you gonna do to it,
Which one?
the Vermillion Road?
The Vermillion Road, we're gonna put 2 lifts of asphalt, hot mix asphalt on it, from the lower T to 500 on the signal
And
section.
that will supposedly fix that screw up that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, again, we talked about there isn't a screw up there, there is a, if you talk to people like Chuck Woods, people that drive the road, he said it would almost turn his tandem over, the ruts that were in that road. I think I'm not sure what the rutting came from, but I think there was a lot of development that went on out there and all but destroyed the road from lower T to 500. And we used $335,000 of federal stimulus money to stabilize the base. And to resurface the base would have cost us more, and it would have been 100% out of our pocket. So basically, it's like building a house. We built the foundation in 2009 or 2010 with the stimulus money, and now that we've secured 50% match for the resurfacing through a tarp application, now we're gonna cover it up. So we're actually, that's actually a really nice piece of road. It's got a 9-inch stabilized, concrete stabilized subbase, and it's gonna have a hot mix overlay on top of it, so. Now the piece from 500 going on into Vermilion's also gonna get tarped, but that piece will only get cold mixed, because again, we go till we spend what they give us, and then if it needs more spin on it, we're less inclined to pursue those dollars. So it's a hot mix overlay on a cement stabilized subbase. It's going to be a really, really nice road. Is that the only one, Mike? that you're
Yeah,
talking
that's
about?
all the only one I'm concerned about right now.
Number 14 is our federal program update. Same thing as I talked about with the TARP dollars. I told you last meeting that we wouldn't do Vermilion and Shiloh, and now I'm saying that we will. At the last meeting, I told you that Farnham's Bridge, that wetlands were tasked, and that project was likely off the program. We've worked diligently, or we're working diligently on designing a project that avoids the wetlands. And we think it's a possibility, so I want you guys to know that there's a bridge in Kansas Township, a federally programmed bridge in Kansas Township. It was there before I came. And there's this federally programmed Farnham's Bridge. We've sat down with IDOT. IDOT needs to spend this federal money or the Illinois loses it. So we have Farnham's Bridge and Kansas Bridge both moving forward in hope that one of them captures the federal money by the end of FY14, which is next July 1. Does that make sense? We have $500,000 programmed, federal money programmed for FY14. Once, it was for Farnham's Bridge, and has been for a couple years. But once wetlands were flagged out there, it changes the game. I mean, we have to do wetland mitigation, have to buy property and all kinds of things. So rather than give up on this federally programmed money, we grabbed the Kansas Bridge off the shelf, and we're going to take Kansas and Farnham's forward in anticipation that one of them will utilize the federal dollars. If the Farnham's Bridge does utilize the federal dollars, we want Kansas to drop back to a TBP project. So what that means is Kansas in August, we haven't talked to Laura yet, but Kansas is also going to petition you guys for CATV help. And the CATV that we're going to help them on is the portion of the money that they would not have had to pay had they been picked for federal.
Where's the Kansas Bridge at?
It's south, if you go east of Brockton and south right by the Kansas line.
Oh, it's north?
Right.
Okay,
It's north of Kansas, yes.
all right.
Is that the wooden bridge?
Yes. It was designed when I got here. So both of those projects are moving quickly forward for federal approval so that we can give some peace of mind that maybe one of them will get built. If we don't get the money obligated by July 1st of next year, we lose it and IDOT loses it, which is a very bad thing. Does that make sense?
What's the Walmart? What's that?
Walmart, okay, federal, any question on the bridges? You'll get another CAT petition from Kansas. It will only be used in the event that Farnham's does not go. Dan's asking about the other projects. The Walmart, Lower T at Walmart, there's an inlay, federally funded inlay at Walmart that's programmed for next year. Those plans came back approved. It'll be a winter landing, so it won't, you won't see that project until next construction season. So from 150 out to where we're stopping this project, we'll get an inlay with it. It's a part of the federal program. Clinton Road Urban, we already talked about that. Horace Brockton Road's a pavement preservation, 1.25 or less on that road. That's a 20-year-old pavement that we're gonna use federal money to do pavement preservation on. Major Bridge, we've talked about that. Any questions on it? It's still moving forward. We got a bunch of right-of-way purchase.
We'll have to shut this down.
I'm done. Any old business you guys wanna talk about?
We're still gonna have public comment now, so we can recess and reconvene as soon as our other meetings.
You don't need
Over.
to-
What are we doing?
We're gonna recess this meeting because we got a 9:30 meeting of the public session, study session. And then we can, if the board says they wanna recess and reconvene right after that meeting, that's what we'll do. If I can get a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
So you wanna come get me when our meeting will
Yes.
pick back up, so it's suspended per se?
Do we have a second?
It's a study session, man, I don't know that we need it. Right?
Okay.
It's just a study session. You can tell me to come back at noon and I'll have to.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you when you guys are done.